For 340 years, the fate of HMS Gloucester, a 60-gun Royal warship, remained a mystery. What could have led to the disappearance of such a formidable vessel? Was it a storm that swallowed her whole, or perhaps a battle lost to the pages of history? Maybe it was something far more unexpected, a twist of fate that no one saw coming. Whatever the reason, the Gloucester vanished without a trace, leaving behind only questions and the whispers of a forgotten past. But as time marched on, the sea held its secrets close, waiting for the day when the truth would finally surface. The air was thick with anticipation as the mighty HMS Gloucester slid into the water for the very first time. It was the year 1654, and the crowd gathered along the docks could hardly contain their excitement. This was no ordinary vessel. She was a masterpiece of craftsmanship, a towering symbol of England's growing dominance on the seas. With each creak of the ropes and groan of the timber, the Gloucester made her grand entrance, cutting through the waves like a blade. The Royal Navy had seen many fine ships, but none quite like this. She was built for power, for speed, for glory. Every inch of her oak frame spoke of strength. Every sail promised swiftness, and every cannon stood ready to defend the crown's honor. The men who had labored over her construction watched with pride, knowing they had created something extraordinary. The Gloucester wasn't just a ship, she was a statement. It was a declaration to the world that England's navy was a force to be reckoned with. As she settled into the water, the cheers erupted, echoing across the harbor. This was the pride of the Royal Navy, and her legend was only just beginning. The sinking of the HMS Gloucester in 1682 was a tragedy that sent shockwaves through England, not just for the lives lost, but for the scandal that followed. The ship, carrying the future King James II, struck a sandbank off the coast of Norfolk and went down in a matter of hours. Hundreds of sailors and nobles perished in the icy waters, their cries swallowed by the sea. But the real storm brewed on land. Whispers spread like wildfire. Why had the ship been so poorly navigated? Why had the Duke of York, the king's own brother, been allowed to sail on such a risky voyage? Some said it was sheer incompetence, others hinted at darker conspiracies. The monarchy, already fragile, found itself under siege from a public hungry for answers. King Charles II, desperate to contain the damage, ordered an inquiry, but the truth was buried under layers of political maneuvering. The disaster became a symbol of royal negligence, fueling the fires of rebellion that would soon engulf the nation. The Gloucester's sinking wasn't just a maritime tragedy, it was the crack in the crown's armor, one that would never fully heal. The HMS Gloucester wasn't just any ship. She was a beast of the waves, built to carry 50 to 60 iron guns, each one capable of tearing through the toughest hulls. Stretching over 100 feet from bow to stern, she cut an imposing figure, her towering masts and broad decks designed to strike fear into any enemy foolish enough to cross her path. Every plank, every nail, every inch of her was crafted for power and endurance, making her a true force to be reckoned with on the open sea. When she sailed, the very waters seemed to part for her, knowing full well the destruction she could unleash. HMS Gloucester wasn't just another ship in the fleet. She was a legend carved from oak and iron. Time and again she faced down Spanish galleons, those towering beasts of the sea, and sent them limping back to port with shattered hulls and broken pride. The Dutch men of war learned the hard way, too, that crossing her path meant a fight they weren't ready for. Word spread like wildfire across the waves. The Gloucester didn't just win battles, she dominated them. Sailors whispered her name in hushed tones, and captains who spotted her sails on the horizon knew their luck had just run out. Fear, oh, she earned that. Respect, even her enemies couldn't deny it. The Gloucester didn't just sail into battle, she brought the storm with her. By the late 1670s, HMS Gloucester was hauled into dry dock for a refit that would set her up for years to come. The old guns, worn from battles and storms, were stripped out and replaced with fresh, gleaming cannons, each one tested and primed for action. The rigging, frayed and weathered from countless voyages, was swapped for new ropes taut and strong, ready to catch the wind like never before. Every timber was checked, every nail secured, because this wasn't just maintenance, it was a rebirth. When she set sail again, the Gloucester wasn't just a ship, she was a force built to rule the waves and remind the world why she'd always been feared. The sea had no idea what was coming. On the 6th of May, 1682, the mighty HMS Gloucester met her fate. She was a proud ship, a vessel of war and glory, but that day, the sea had other plans. As she sailed through the treacherous waters, her hull scraped against the hidden sandbanks, a cruel trick of the tide. The crew scrambled, desperate to save her, but the damage was done. Water rushed in, relentless and cold, swallowing the ship whole. Over 130 souls were lost that day, their voices silenced by the waves. It was a tragedy that would echo through the years, a reminder of the sea's unforgiving power. The Gloucester, once a symbol of strength, became a ghost beneath the waves, her story etched into the heart of history. The Duke of York's rigid adherence to protocol became the spark that lit the fire of public fury. While families waited in terror for their loved ones to be rescued, the Duke insisted on following every rule to the letter, delaying the abandonment order until it was nearly too late. The people saw it as cold indifference, a betrayal by those sworn to protect them. And when pilot James Ayes, who had defied orders to save as many as he could, was thrown into prison for his actions, the outrage reached a boiling point. Newspapers blasted the Duke's name across their front pages, calling his decisions reckless and heartless. Protests erupted in the streets, with crowds chanting for justice, not just for the victims of the disaster, but for Ayes, the man who had risked everything to do what was right. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves, some even calling for the Duke's resignation. The public's trust in the government had been shattered, and the fallout was only beginning. In the taverns and town squares, the story of Ayes's imprisonment became a rallying cry. How could a man be punished for saving lives? The question echoed everywhere, turning sympathy into anger. The Duke's reputation, once untouchable, now lay in ruins, and the people demanded answers. But more than that, they demanded change. In 2007, after centuries of silence beneath the waves, the wreck of the HMS Gloucester was found. It wasn't some grand expedition with fanfare and headlines, just two brothers, Julian and Lincoln Barnwell, who stumbled upon history. They'd been searching, sure, but when the sonar finally pinged back the shape of a ship long thought lost, it must have felt like the sea itself was whispering secrets. The Gloucester, once a proud vessel carrying a future king, had been resting in the dark, waiting for someone to bring it back into the light, and just like that, a story that had faded into legend was alive again. The discovery of HMS Gloucester isn't just about finding an old ship, it's like uncovering a time capsule from the Restoration era, a snapshot of life and seafaring in a world long gone. They're calling it Norfolk's Mary Rose, and for good reason. This wreck tells stories of the people who sailed her, the society they lived in, and the challenges they faced on the open sea. And in 2023, Norwich Castle Museum brought those stories to life with an exhibition that let visitors stand face-to-face with history. Artifacts pulled from the depths, carefully preserved, now sit on display, each one a piece of the puzzle. It's not just about the ship itself, it's about the lives it carried, the battles it fought, and the world it sailed through. For anyone who's ever wondered what it was like to live in that time, this exhibition is as close as you can get to stepping back into the past. If you've ever wondered what life was like aboard one of the most famous ships of the 17th century, now's your chance to find out. The Norwich Castle Museum is hosting an incredible exhibition all about HMS Gloucester, a ship that played a pivotal role in British naval history. This isn't just a display of old artifacts, it's a journey back in time where you can see firsthand the stories of the sailors who served on her decks and the battles that shaped the nation. Imagine standing in front of the very items they used, the letters they wrote, and the weapons they carried. It's one thing to read about history in a book, but it's another to stand right there in the middle of it, feeling the weight of the past all around you. The exhibition brings the ship's legacy to life in a way that's both powerful and personal, so why not make a day of it? Head over to Norwich Castle Museum and dive into the world of HMS Gloucester. Whether you're a history buff or just curious about the past, this is an experience you won't want to miss. Trust me, it's worth the trip.